Good morning, everyone. It's 8:30 on this Sunday morning. Thanks for joining us. I'm Dennis House. What a week of political news, and we'll get to the hottest Connecticut race of 2019 in just a moment. But first, let's talk about some things going on at the state capitol with our former candidates for governor, now turned face the state analyst. We have Republican David Stemerman and Democrat Joe Ganim. You laughed at that, Mayor Ganim. How come?
Well, I'm looking for a job after mayor, maybe 4 or 5 years from now.
Well, you guys are the hot new political ticket in terms of analysts, and we welcome you back to the program, and maybe we run together someday, huh?
That'd be interesting. Huh?
It's great to be with you.
We got to get on the same page on all our issues, but other than that, we enjoy each other's
minor
company.
Things to work out, right? Let's first of all talk about this debt diet. And you had talked, Mr. Stemerman, about cutting some of the services and most of the expenditures, in terms of cutting the expenditures with the bulk of your program. Is the governor doing the right thing?
Our debt has been out of control for years because we've had budget deficits for years. And we've talked about on this program many times the source of that problem is that we have these massive unfunded retirement liabilities that have built up year after year after year that are debt on top of debt. So I agree that the time has come to draw the line and say we can't be borrowing more money. But I think the bigger problem are these unfunded retirement liabilities in the labor contracts. And I think that that's the story that we need to be talking about more. That's the challenge that we need to be addressing.
You don't believe the governor has addressed that yet?
I don't believe so. He said a deal is a deal, and the deal that we have is one that Governor Malloy signed as a 10-year agreement. Now, Governor Malloy complained for the entirety of his administration that his predecessors had created a problem and had tied his hands. And he then was unable to get us out of this mess. I think that the governor needs to show leadership and say, yes, this was a deal that was struck by my predecessor. It's unaffordable for everyone. People are leaving this state. Tax burden is outrageous. We need to come back to the table and strike a new deal.
Mayor Ganim, this debt diet can hurt cities because they tend to be the recipients of some of these bonding expenditures in years past. What do you think about this?
Well, sure. I mean, when you're talking about the need to modernize or rebuild or build schools or put additions on, whether it's changing populations or modernizing, especially in a city like ours, we've had the benefit of working with the state, and as the governor's bragged about, and the people around the state have seen, a new Harding High School, which is one of our high schools, Central High School, our other high school, another product of state support. We have those type of needs. So you have to be sensitive to those as you do try and make the difficult decisions. And frankly, I think the governor's doing that. Now, the debt diet kind of, we were together on St. Patrick's Day, and we were like, oh, what falls into that and what falls out of it? And I hope the process has the discretion, as it will, I think, with the governor's leadership, to allow for the needs of infrastructure throughout the state, bridges, all the things that the pension are always challenging. We can talk about that too, either part of this answer or another one.
This next subject, I want to start with you, Mayor Ganim. If you were governor right now, what kind of toll proposal would you be calling for?
Yeah, I mean, look, this is probably the single most controversial as things roll out. The governor, I think recently, at least in local press in my part of the state, said that he thinks the support is there for tolls, for marijuana, for a $15 minimum wage, paid family leave, and an overall budget. That means that the Democrats, at least, I don't know how it's working out on party lines, will have the support to move forward. So I assume then that's a proposal that will benefit Connecticut. We need money for infrastructure to repair and to continue to build our infrastructure. So it looks like it's going to go forward.
You support the tolls then?
Yeah, I've taken the heat on people, and even my daughter was even saying, "Hey, Dad, if she was going to the Stanford branch of UConn at that time, what does this mean to us?" So I think you got to be sensitive to that. I will tell you, in my part of the state, in Stratford especially, is where the emotion runs high because of the history, as we both know, on what happened to cause the elimination of tolls.
Mr. Stemerman, you had opposed tolls as a candidate. Do you still oppose them?
I share the governor's aspiration to improve our transportation infrastructure. I think we all agree we need our roads to be faster. We need to add lanes. We need to get the trains moving faster. This 30-30-30 plan would be a great boon for the state. But I disagree that putting a tolls all over the state is the right answer. We are asking the taxpayers of Connecticut to pay too much as it is. We're the second most taxed state in the country. We have to wait till May 3rd in this state, the third longest of any state in the country, to stop paying for taxes to the government. So I think that we're paying too much. The answer that we have talked about during the campaign and afterwards is engaging the private sector to build public-private partnerships. This was an idea that I thought had broad bipartisan support. We saw the governor introduce a bill in this area. We had Senator Fasano talk about it very favorably. And I was disappointed this last week where I saw the committees led by the Democratic legislature gut those bills. These are public-private partnerships where we can get people to work in good-paying jobs, revitalize our cities. My hope is that we can come together and do something like that.
Is there a toll proposal that is, or a toll compromise that's palatable to you, or do you flat out oppose tolls?
I believe that with the properly structured deals for public-private partnerships, we will not need to put tolls on all the roads. We can get, for our airports, I think we get private businesses, instead of paying $1 billion for the taxpayer, we can get private investment. What they've done for adding new roads in places like Washington, D.C., is they've added new lanes, and they've put tolls just on those lanes. And the tolls on those lanes have paid for them. And you give voters and you give people of the state a choice. You can say, I need to commute, I can't afford to pay the toll, I'm not going to pay the toll. And for those people that you're offering a faster service, if they're willing to pay the toll, that's an answer that I think is better.
I need to get your opinion on this, Mr. Stemerman, before we move on to the mayor, and that is, a couple weeks ago, Bob Stefanowski, your fellow Republican, was on this program, said that if he is governor, he would tear them down in 2023. Does that make sense? Because the horse is already going to be out of the gate, these will be already paid for, these gantries. Does that make sense?
What I think that we're all concerned about looking out for the taxpayer is that this is just going to be a whole nother way of taxing, and that once these tolls come in, they're just going to be increased and increased. When the income tax first came in, we were told it was going to be temporary, then we were told it was going to be a flat tax, and it's been raised again and again and again. And so I think there's a broad concern about once you allow tolls to go in, that they'll be used as essentially another ATM machine taxing the people of this state.
Let's shift to marijuana for a little bit here. It's moving through the Capitol. Do you think that it's a good idea to legalize marijuana in our state? Is it good for Bridgeport?
Whether it's Bridgeport or the state, I don't think there's much of a difference. I think our time has come. I think that the regulations that will allow for the increased revenue, as time has come. So I've supported it, and I think the way it's moving through, I think, will be good for the state. So, so I think we should do it now. I think we should not be the last ones in on it. As far as tolls, though, I think, look, we're all concerned about the costs, certainly. But and you go to the income tax. Once they're in, you know, it's almost like the person who's out of office is very easy to say, I'm going to rip those out because it's popular right now. The reality is we do have to deal with these challenges. I think the governor's put a measured proposal forward. Hopefully the public relations on that will be accepted by people, and it will be a good proposal because there's different ways to do it. So, so I think both of those are issues that hopefully will move forward through the General Assembly this session.
It seems like most Republicans are against marijuana. Is that a good stance to take, or is there any room for compromise that the party should take?
Yeah, this is one I would love to talk further with Joe and others online or offline. I view that this should be considered as public safety. This is not about collecting more receipts for the state. I have 5 children. I have 4 teenage children. Marijuana is a gateway drug to something far more serious. The marijuana that is now available today, this is not your Woodstock marijuana. This is 30 or 100 times more potent, and it has really dangerous effects on our children. I understand the concerns about criminal records that people have, and if we want a criminal justice reform, I understand that. If we want to have marijuana for medical use, I support that. But I think this is a huge mistake. We've had a long-standing opposition to psychedelic drugs in opposing them, and I don't think we should be changing that policy.
Some quick final questions. Mayor Ganim, what is your role in terms of helping the Lamont administration with its agenda? How often do you talk to the governor?
No, we've had a great partnership, and I think they've had that with most local elected officials. I don't know that any don't. I think they've done a great job through, whether through the governor's office or himself. He's been very attentive to the challenges and needs that we have, partnerships. Look, we always look for more revenue. We'd like to see the support for a jobs bill that includes a waterfront resort and casino in Bridgeport. We're hopefully working together on that. So it's been good. Commissioners have been good. I'm looking forward to this budget. I have my own budget. We're looking to keep taxes down in Bridgeport, and we have over $1 billion worth of economic development. He's supportive of that. That's good. What's good for the state's largest city is good for Connecticut. So, so we're working hard and continue to look for a good, strong partnership, because that's what's important for the people that we serve.
So the governor is a Democrat. Obviously, Mr. Stemerman, you're a Republican. Could you see yourself working in an official capacity for this governor?
Not
You've
in
been at the
official
Capitol. I know
capacity.
people are asking.
Yeah, but I do view that as a private citizen who cares about the state, that I'm happy to engage with whomever on these topics. And I appreciate the governor's attitude in saying my door is open, I'm willing to listen. My hope is in the weeks that lie ahead that we can continue that dialogue and we can get our state in a better place.
And if you don't mind, if you have time, I think that is a contrast. Open door, let's sit and talk about it genuinely, I think makes a big difference.
Joe Ganim, David Stemerman, we appreciate being on the program.